at this point in time. So I apologize if I missed your email again. Send me a text. I will try to get to it right after my second class today. Yes, sir.
How did you do your what?
I lost. Thank God. You know. So I've done it before. It was 8 years of misery. But you know, you win some, lose some. I'll try again in 2 years. We'll see what happens. So, I had the only other opponent that was from Guthrie. All of the other people that were running were all outsiders. So, you know, it pitted, our election was the only one that pitted two homegrown people against each other. And I guess I didn't get my 15 friends out to vote. Some of my family, actually, some of my family dropped out that day, which really annoyed me. I was highly upset with that. By the way, yes, I was extraordinarily upset. So today, we need to talk about marketing channels. I will get these sorted out and get your grades posted just as quickly as I can. I have gone back through, looked at all of the presentations so that I was sure that I was fair in grading those and marking off and things like that on the rubric so that I was aware. It's a good thing that I recorded them because it did take me a little bit of time to go back through. Because during the class period while I was recording them, I had some problems with the recorder and it wasn't connecting to my phone, and so it was nice to be able to go back and look at those since I was kind of distracted a couple of days in class, and I want to make sure that I'm fair to everybody. So we need to talk today about the part of marketing that nobody thinks of as being marketing, and it's the place component of marketing. It's the supply chain, transportation, and logistics part of marketing. If you went back in time, it's the part that nobody thinks of as being marketing because you think about advertising and the part of marketing that you actually see. You don't think about what we might call the invisible side of marketing, or what Rose George calls the invisible side of the supply chain and channels in a book called 90% of Everything. This is a test question by Rose George. Because it's the people that you don't meet. And it's the ones that, in many respects, we don't like. We like to disparage because we don't see the value that they add, and we'll talk about that. I will tell you that when I went to get my PhD, I did not want to leave Oklahoma to do it. I went down and I talked to OU, and they said, if you want to get a PhD here, we'll admit you, because we have Dr. Caney, who is the Associate Dean here at UCO, vouching for me. But they said, you better be interested in supply chain and logistics, because that's the focus of our program. And I thought, yuck. What could be more boring than thinking about supply chain and logistics? Now, if you think about it, it sort of makes sense that that would be the focus of OU's program, because where is Oklahoma and OU located on the map? We're right smack dab in the middle of the country, and we have three major interstates that run through the Oklahoma City SMSA. That's Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area, right? We have I-35, I-40, and I-44 that all run through the country, and a huge, voluminous amount of shipping comes through Oklahoma on those ways. On those highways. After we signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, we had even more coming from where? As we saw a lot of businesses move down on the border where they could move across maybe the border and produce goods for consumption in the United States even more cheaply, right? So from Texas. So we have a huge voluminous amount of traffic that comes through, and so that makes it a data-rich area for people that want to study that. However, I thought I couldn't imagine anything more boring than studying transportation, and I didn't want to do that, so I went off to New Mexico State instead. So I will tell you that this is the part of marketing that I am certainly not an expert in. It's the part that I avoided assiduously as much as I could, having to learn about. But if you're interested in it, Dr. Genshev in our department is the supply chain and channels expert, and we offer courses in supply chain logistics, operations management, and purchasing of materials. So it's an old subfield of marketing. If we go back to that original definition from the American Marketing Educators Association, and their first definition of marketing that they came up with in 1935 that we've talked a lot about, marketing is the performance of business activities that direct the flow of goods and services from producer to consumer. So there was really this focus on, and if we go back in time to that production era, moving things from the producer to the consumer. How do we get that from the producer to the consumer? For example, Ford comes out with the Model T. Where is it manufactured? In Michigan. Where is the vast majority of the population of the United States?
Not in Michigan.
Not in Michigan. So how do you get that product from Michigan to those people? Now, what percentage of the things that you use every day do you think are shipped overseas in container ships?
I'll go with 90.
How are you going with 90? What?
The name of the book.
The name of the book, 90% of everything. 90% of everything that you touch, own, use every day is shipped probably from China in container ships, and that's part of this supply chain, right? It's part of the channels that we talk about. 90% of everything is shipped on container ships, and it's an enormously important part of our economy. In the book, 90% of everything, this is a study that is very close to what the first studies in marketing look like, where marketing scholars, largely from the departments of agricultural economics, which is one of the foundational disciplines of marketing, actually got on railroad cars and followed them to see how you could get the cheese studies, how to get cheese from Wisconsin to the rest of the country efficiently, because cheese is a what? It's a perishable item. And so you're concerned about how do you get that to market, from farm to market, efficiently. So Rose George does this study that's a kind of a classic study where she gets on a container ship and she travels over 9,000 miles through pirate waters on this container ship to see how everything that you make is shipped to you. And because shipping is so cheap today, and because labor is so cheap in other places, for example, one of the things that she discovers is that fish that are caught off this coast of Scotland are actually shipped in container ships all the way to China, where they're filleted and then shipped back to Scotland. Because it's cheaper to do that, to ship the fish from Scotland to China to be filleted and then back to Scotland, than it is to do what? Pay Scottish people to fillet the fish. It's cheaper to do that, so they're shipped. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that amazing? And it's getting cheaper all the time. Your iPhone was manufactured. How many of you have the iPhone? A lot of you have the iPhone, right? It was manufactured where? Communist China. There are lots of billionaires, by the way, in Communist China as a result of all of the business that we do. In fact, it's become so fashionable in Communist China to be rich that the businessmen there have their suits and dress shirts on their left-hand wrist tailored so that they are 1.5 inches shorter than their right wrist. Why is that? What are most people, left-handed or right-handed? They're right-handed. Most people are right-handed. If you wear a watch and you're right-handed, what wrist do you wear it on? The left. What do they want to show off? Their Rolex watches. Their Swiss watches. So your iPhone was shipped from Communist China. How much do you think it costs to ship this iPhone across the ocean and into the port of New York, where it can then be distributed throughout the nation?
I'm guessing it took more to drive it from New York to here.
What do you think the cost is?
And it didn't to ship it.
How much? How much did you spend on the iPhone? What's the new iPhone 6 cost? $700. How much of that was shipping? 10 bucks. We've got 10. Anybody want to go lower? $2 per iPhone.
Another 25.
3 cents. Wow. 3 cents. That's what it costs to ship it. 3 cents on a container ship. It's incredible. And the cost is going down. They are now manufacturing and making container ships that are automated, and the number of people required, which is the labor capital, which is the most expensive part of most businesses, is shrinking. In theory, in the next 10 years, we will have container ships that will be. One of the problems that we have is the piracy issue. How many of you saw a film called Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks? A rather nice, documentary, docudrama of his experience being attacked by Somali pirates off of the coast of Africa. In the future, that won't even be possible because the ships will be run by what? Global positioning systems and machines. They will be totally people-free. What used to take hundreds and thousands of people in docks to do has been reduced. Container ship, when the largest container ship sailed into Felixstowe in England several years ago, people for weeks afterwards were calling the paper asking if it was still in port so that they could see it. It spent less than 24 hours in port before it turned around and headed back on its loop across and over the seas through China and all of those places to pick up things. So it's enormously important, but it's the part of marketing that we really don't focus on and that we don't think of as being part of marketing. So there are lots of middlemen. Middleman is an imprecise term for anyone between the manufacturer and the end user. And we have a tendency to not like these, again, because we don't see them and we don't think that they necessarily add value to us. And it's become fashionable to say, and advertisements say things like what? No middleman. Skip the middleman. Buy what? Buy direct from the factory. Buy factory direct. Skip the middleman. So there are various types of middlemen, some of which will take possession, and that adds to a utility that we'll talk about. Some don't. So you should know what these terms are for the exam. So for example, there's an agent or broker. Generally speaking, these people help bring buyers and sellers together, but they don't actually take title to the goods. They simply bring them together in the marketplace and facilitate that transaction. A classic example would be what? A real estate broker. What value do real estate brokers add? None?
Knowledge of laws and available properties and things like
Okay.
that.
Is that really all that valuable anymore? It used to be, years and years and years ago, my mother owned a real estate company. And realtors actually did add a lot of value because in an age before the internet, what did they have access to that you didn't? They used to print these books called the Multiple Listing Service, the MLS, and realtors had access to that, so they knew about every property in a geographic area that was listed, and that provided value to buyers because they then knew what? They didn't have to drive around. They could say, I need a 3-bedroom house, in this school district, in this price range, and the realtors could go to the MLS books and they could look at that and find it. And they guarded that very jealously at one point in time. They wouldn't let you just take MLS books out of their office. Now, in an age of the internet, do realtors provide that much service since you can get on and figure out from Zillow where the homes are that are located, the price range, the area, the school district, the number of bedrooms, all of those features. What value do realtors still provide?
They negotiate.
They negotiate. They understand things like, for example, if you're going to buy a home, one of the things that you're probably going to have to do, how much is the average home in the state of Oklahoma today? It hovers right around $150,000. If you take in everything, if you go to Godibo, the average home is probably 60. The average home price in Guthrie is 120. The average home price in Edmond is closer to 3 now, apparently, is what I've been told. That's because of all of the shallow and pretentious people living in the gated communities, which are the downfall of the Western world. I'm highly critical of that. Land of the shallow and pretentious. So, if you're going to buy this house, given that the average is about 150, how many of you have $150 in the bank? And I don't mean $1.50, I mean $150,000 in the bank. You have $150,000. Now you can write the check. Most people can't write the check. So you're going to have to do what? You're going to have to get a mortgage on that property. In order to obtain a mortgage on that property, the property is going to have to qualify. What do realtors know? They can tell you whether or not the asking price based on comps is going to be in the ballpark of what a lender will lend, because they have to loan within the range of the price of the property. It has to appraise for the amount of the loan that you're going to get, or the bank won't be able to make the loan. That's become harder to do in this day and age when appraisers are no longer just rubber stamping because they may be liable these estimates of the value of a home. And so these are basic comps. So realtors know that. They know which lenders you should maybe use, right? What else? They know the appraisers. They know home inspectors that you can use to get this. Because if you're going to spend $150,000 on this investment, and for most of you this is the largest investment you will make in your life, you're going to want, you just buy it, sight unseen? No, you're going to want it what? You're going to want to look at it. You're going to want to know certain things. Can you inspect it yourself? Like what? Is the mechanical stuff working? Right? Does it have what? What's a big problem in Oklahoma? Almost 70% of Oklahoma homes have some damage as a result of what? Termites. Foundation issues now, as we've become an earthquake-prone area, have become of concern. So things like that. So they provide value not by taking title or ownership, but by bringing you together. Wholesalers are intermediaries who sell to other intermediaries, usually retailers. It's an imprecise term. A retailer is an intermediary who sells to consumers. We'll talk about retailing and the value of retailing next time. And we'll talk about the various ways that we can classify retail establishments that you should know for the exam. A distributor is an imprecise term, usually describes intermediaries who perform a variety of distribution functions. They may or may not take title to the property. A lot of companies and a lot of manufacturers operate through a distribution network. That's what we did at the company I work for, the American Education Corporation. We sold our product through a series of independent distributor networks that would go out and market our product to school districts. Why would we do that? Why would we sell through distributors? It was cheaper than hiring our own sales force. We could get somebody else to sell our product, give them commission, and we didn't have to have the sales force. We didn't have to provide them with things like health care benefits and stuff like that. They were independent contractors. And so it was an interesting network that we used to sell our product. And then dealers is another imprecise term that can be a distributor, a retailer, wholesaler, or things like that. Intermediaries create value for you, even though you don't see it. They have time value. They get the stuff to you when you want it. And the cost, as a result of things like logistics studies and just-in-time inventory control, have led to enormous efficiencies for you. For example, Walmart is the #1 best inventory control system in the world, probably. And what has allowed Walmart to drop the prices? Well, one thing is this just-in-time inventory system that they have, where they know they don't have to hold product forever. When I was a kid growing up, stores would get shipments in maybe once a week or once a month. And so they had the front end of the store, which was not very big, and then the back end of the store, which was pretty big, and that's where they kept all of the surplus. So they might have models, for example, like shoe stores. When you go to the shoe store, they had a nice showroom. They would try on the shoes. They don't do that anymore. How many of them actually help you? They don't. There's not much service anymore. You go to Payless shoe store, and it's really what? The back end of the store has moved to the front. It's all a big warehouse. That's what Walmart is, right? Walmart is basically, there's no back end of the store. The back end of the store is minuscule. It consists of a room where they just receive stuff, and then they put it almost instantly out on the floor. And they're able to do that because of just-in-time inventory control. This means that they can utilize that space efficiently to make money. So they're not carrying huge stock. It's out on the floor, and they're not holding it for long periods of time. There's lots of turnover. So they provide utility in terms of time. They get it to you when you want it. When you want to buy a car, do you want to wait for months? Some cars you may have to wait, right? When you buy a car, generally you want to do what? You want to go out to the dealer and you want to buy it. So the dealer has it there at the time that you want it, when you want it, when you need the car, which for most of you is when? When the last car blew up. As it left you on the side of the road coming to UCO today, or as the air conditioner quit, or whatever that's gone wrong with it, right? You don't want to wait for it. You don't want to have it manufactured and then shipped to you 3 months from now. They provide place utility, having it where you want it. That's convenient. You want a Diet Coke, you got to have it lots of places, right? You don't. Is this such a rare and valuable commodity that you'll even take the time or imagination to walk across campus to get it? No. You're going to do what? You're going to go to the nearest vending machine, which is in the student lounge here, and get your Coke. So how do you get a place where you want it? In the form. Intermediaries enhance the form. Coke distributors send out Coca-Cola products in what? In cases. How many of you want a case of Coke? Probably not. If you're thirsty today, you want what? One. So they enhance it by breaking those big cases, those big numbers down into units that you want. You don't want a pallet of Reese's peanut butter cups. Well, maybe you do. One pallet. I like Reese's peanut butter cups. It's the only candy that I really like. And if I start eating them, I just can eat, like an entire case myself. But I really don't want a pallet of them. I want what? One Reese's peanut butter cup. So they provide this form utility, and then finally possession. They help buyers take possession, and this entails risk on their part. What happens, for example, when you ship stuff in commerce? What might happen to it? It might get damaged or destroyed. What season are we in here in Oklahoma right now? Tornado season. There's lots of people that have warehouses and things like that and more. I think I might be moving them if I have them in more. And all these people rebuild their homes in the same, I know this family that's been wiped out 3 times in more tornadoes. Isn't that God's way of saying don't build there? And yet so there's risk involved in these businesses that warehouse the stuff. It might get damaged before you get it, right? So they involve risk. So that adds value to you because you don't have the risk of holding this stuff. So there are different types of marketing channels. The direct, that's the most immediate, from producer to consumer. Schwann's is an example. How many of you buy from Schwann's? They actually come out to your house, they manufacture the stuff, and they sell it directly to you. Lots of people don't use that channel though. Why? It's more expensive. There are other people that are better. If you are a manufacturer, are you necessarily an expert at shipping? Probably not. And so you need these other intermediaries, which leads to indirect, where you have intermediaries added. And the number of intermediaries can be enormously complex. Also, as we talk about globalization, the type of global trade that you engage in is going to affect the intermediaries because there are going to be different systems in different countries that you'll have to deal with. Multi-channel marketing uses direct and others, such as retailing. So, for example, Ralph Lauren has direct consumer through their website. They also have stores. That's a vertically integrated system. It's a corporate system, and you should know what that is. And then there are contractual systems, which can be vertically integrated, where you have, for example, wholesale sponsored voluntary associations. So, for example, IGA, you don't have a whole lot of these anymore, International Grocers Association. If you go to a little town, so I moved my boat from Dallas, Texas yesterday, up to the Three Forks Harbor at the Port of Muskogee, and we went through Shakota. home of God's little angel, Carrie Underwood, right? God's second little angel. Leanne Rhymes is God's first little angel. So we went through Chicago. They actually have an IGA there. They actually have an IGA in Eufaula because they don't have a huge, big Walmart. They do in Chicago. They don't have a huge Walmart. So they have an independent grocery association. You used to see these all the time. You see less and less of those in the grocery store system. But we still have those manufacturer sponsored, such as car manufacturers delivered directly to dealerships. And so that's a vertical system. Then you have administered systems. Historically speaking, all of the power in the channel resided with who? The manufacturer. Why? They chose the initial price, and they forced the price through the channel, right? Walmart actually shifted the power back. They shifted the power from the manufacturer up the chain rather than from the top down, because Walmart is the largest seller of so many things. They are able to tell manufacturers what price point they will sell at. So for example, Walmart is the largest retailer of what? Clothing, home electronics, soap, laundry detergent, food, and now diamonds. They are the largest retailer of diamonds in the world. And Walmart has been able to shift the power and start saying, if you want to sell to Walmart, you had better have a corporate office or some kind of office in Bentonville, Arkansas. They go to you, they go to Walmart, and Walmart tells them what they will sell for. And not everybody wants to sell for Walmart, but they have shifted the power totally to the retailer to give you everyday low prices by their huge volume of business that they are able to control. Snapper Mower actually went and told Walmart they didn't want to be part of their network, that they didn't want to sell to Walmart. And they told Walmart no, because Walmart wanted to sell lawnmowers at what price point, do you suppose? $100. That was their price point. They wanted to stay under $100. Why did they want to stay under $100? Because Walmart customers look for what? Everyday low value. Snapper said they couldn't manufacture a mower that they wanted to put their name on. They did not want to destroy or dilute something that we talked about earlier, which is called brand equity, by selling to Walmart. So they actually said no. In choosing how you're going to channel, what channels you're going to use, the text tells you there are 3 critical questions, and I add a 4th which you should know. You want to know which will provide the best coverage for the product that you are trying to sell. So for example, for convenience products, you want intensive distribution. What are the buying requirements of the target market? How should they be reached? What's the most, and third is what is most profitable. And then to this I add organizational goals. So for example, Rolex doesn't want an intensive distribution. They want an extremely exclusive distribution. How many official Rolex dealers are there in the Oklahoma City area? 1. B.C. Clark. It creates exclusivity. They don't want to be as exclusive as a bag of potato chips. Right? That's not what they want. So to that you have to have organizational goals. So an intensive distribution is often used for convenience products, exclusive for specialty, luxury, and high-end goods, and then selective is somewhere in between. It's sort of the middle ground. Are there any questions about channels? No, I didn't think so. It's not my favorite part to talk about. The 4 are what will provide the best coverage. The second question is what are the buying requirements of the target? Third is what is most profitable. And then 4th is what are my organization's goals? Channel choice. The critical issues in channel choice. Any other questions? All right. Well, you all have a great afternoon. It's a beautiful day out there. Let me go early. If you feel cheated, you just come see me in my office.